And we are back. And obviously, my name is Random. I'm here with Mazer. We're here to talk episode 23 of Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation of season 2. How you
The
been,
spicy
Mazer?
one.
It's very
It
spicy.
been good, been good. Got the show rolling again. Uh, just ready to make it a good summer.
I know, man. Yeah, I know we both got plans, but let's dive right into it. You said
All
it was a
right,
spicy episode. Go ahead and
from the
elaborate.
jump. All
Mm-hmm.
right, so we got Rudius mourning the death of his father, obviously, and kind of being introspective about his past life and how he didn't mourn his parents in his first life the same way, and he feels bad about that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Roxy comes to comfort him, and he really don't want no part of it. Um, so they end up smashing instead. Uh, didn't see it coming. And then she goes and she has a conversation with Alana and I was interested to see what was going to take place in that conversation, but the show didn't tell us. But we
Mm-hmm.
do start making the trip home as the episode of the title uh, comes out with, and um, you can see Rudy's kind of struggling, and Roxy's right there. Probably my favorite part of the episode, though, is when she confessed to falling in love with him. Having been with the story from the beginning, knowing that he's loved her his whole life, I'm sure that that was a very nice thing for him to experience with everything going on. But at the same time, he had the guilt because he's got Sylphie. But
Mm-hmm.
then Ola Elise comes back and says, "Yo, you worship this god? Nope. Sylphie? Nope. Well, hell, why don't you just go and get yourself another wife?" And
See, oh, go ahead, Mazer.
well,
Sorry,
I
let's
was
go
gonna
keep
say
cooking.
like I was gonna say that was kind of crazy to me. Um, and I don't know that Rudius is entirely comfortable with the idea, even by the end of the episode. I think he's still a little skeptical on the pretext of it happening, and it was a nice touch though. Then Elise talked about how happy she was with Cliff. I liked that part a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of their relationship, and so I'm glad to know that she's still as into it and on board with it. As the show has progressed, you haven't necessarily that relationship hasn't really gotten a lot of love. So knowing that they're still doing well is a very good thing. Um, and then the one of the worst proposals uh, I think ever. Um, starting out by talking about another woman. It was not the smoothest proposal. But yeah, it was with everything going on, it was a very interesting episode in the direction that it took, and I'm wildly excited for next week to see what happens.
If I'm being absolutely honest, with as great of a episode last week was,
Hmm.
still crazy they killed Paul on Father's Day. That's so crazy. If you're looking at it as an episode, just an anime episode in itself,
Hmm.
you could say it was good. You could say it's pretty good.
Yeah,
But as a man who's read the source material, this was bad. This
really.
was like one of those where they really mangled everything. Like for instance, Roxy just if you want to keep it a stack, you could say what Roxy did was heinous to
Yeah.
Rudy. You could absolutely say that. Um, but making Roxy this forceful thing, and in the conversation that they have in the desert, which by the way is very well done, where she's just kind of there. She knows it's like that was her. It felt like her shot to try and get him,
Hmm.
and she knew it wasn't going to work, and she was fully prepared to be like Rem from ReZero and just fade into the background.
Yep.
But to kind of give you the the source material version of it, Elena Lies was wholeheartedly saved in this episode. She was the one that put the idea in Roxy's head. She was the one that
Oh.
that set up a lot of things to make sure that they ended up the way they were at the end. And the one thing was, this doesn't happen over the course of a couple of days. Rudy didn't leave his room for a month in the source material. So he
And,
basically became a Hikimori again.
well, they animated it that way because he looked super skinny. They animated him like his cheekbones were showing. Like they did
Mhm.
animate him that way. So it's
Only
good to know that that much time had passed because that makes a lot more sense now that he looked that way.
mhm. The only thing I wish they kind of did found a way to do like a passage of time, you know, if they could have done something like that, even like 10 seconds or something like that would have helped. Because, or a throwaway line by somebody. Because I was so I was so frustrated because when it finally hit me what was happening, because I was thoroughly enjoying the episode. And then it finally hit me what was happening. I was like, oh my god, they just let Illinois go. And for instance, so Illinois is the one like, look, you go do this for me, or you go do this for Rudy. It's gonna help him, even if it's just kind of short term, right? And then on their way back, because remember, it still takes them like 3 months
Yep.
to get back to Sharia, even with the teleportation circles. Elena lies to Rudy and says that Roxy's 2 months pregnant. So that's what kind of seals it for Rudy to fully commit to Roxy. Now, this is one of my problems with the story, because me, Mesa, you and I have talked a lot of times. I don't like harems. I don't like
Hmm.
harems at all, because I think they're lazy. I think they can be very lazy. So that's why I respect something like We Never Learn, which stuck to one like love interest. This is the love interest is going to win, but they had the foresight to be like, here's what would happen if all the other girls won. And they're all like extra stories. They all kind of match up in the timeline that works. And it's okay, you know? And either way, also another thing why I don't like harems, the girl that I pick never wins. She literally never wins. Okay. There is legitimately no reason at all that Subaru should pick Amelia other than he met her first. Amelia, when Subaru's at his worst, abandons him. What does M do? M's like, nah, man. Obviously in the loop, she did kill him once, but when it came down to the brass tacks of a guy who everybody else had thrown away, M was there. She was there, and it bothers me that they just said no. Amelia's the better person for him, and I'm like, you better fucking show me, because
Hmm.
season 2 didn't show me.
Well,
We've
we'll
been
have to see what
we've been
season
talking
three's got
about
in store.
Rem. We haven't seen Rem in 5 years in the anime space,
Yeah.
and we still think she's better for Subaru than him, than Emilia. But you do what you got to do. So
Yeah.
that's why I was really disappointed in this episode in terms of letting Elena off the hook. And I really liked, because if there's one person who could have this conversation in the Mushoku Tensei universe with Rudy about having multiple people besides his father, it was Elena.
Yeah.
So look, in terms of adaptation wise, it was really bad, like outrageously bad what they did. And this is why my main criticism about them, even if they had one more episode, Mazer, I'd still be concerned, but that'd make me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
But they got one more episode to go. It's presumably Rudy coming back with Roxy and saying, and the rest of his family. The family
Yep.
finds out Paul's dead. You like to believe, and then Rudy's gonna spend half the episode trying to convince Sophie that Roxy should be his second wife. And in the light novel, the source material, I thought it was handled very good. Like one of the few times, at least in my opinion, that I had real problems with Lena Lyles as a character, even though you
Hmm.
understood why she did what she did. But I just think this was really horribly well. I think it really hurt Roxy's character when Roxy's my favorite, because all of a sudden she's like, I'm just gonna sleep with him. That's gonna make him feel better. When at that point, Rudy's reflecting about himself. He's literally saying, you should have saved the other four. I'm not really your son. Like these things that only the best isekai mess with in terms of how your past deals with you. Slime found a really functional way to showcase this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Overlord showcases it all the time through a really comedic way. All right. Like Mushoku Tensei showcased it in a very dramatic way, right? Where you're talking about this guy who finally understands his first set of parents. Finally
Mm-hmm.
understood how he treated them, how he was like, God, I should at least went to their funeral, right? And then now he understands his second set, but by the time he understands both of his sets of parents, they're both gone.
Yep.
So this episode did a lot of really good things, but in terms of adhering to any kind of source material, letting Roxy be the person that does the initiates everything is wrong, and especially downplaying because remember when they walk out and Lin Light's like, Roxy, you didn't. I'm like, bitch, it was your idea. It was your
Mm-hmm.
idea. What do you mean you didn't? It was your idea. So that's I was just very disappointed with Studio Bind that they decided to do that. But look, I'm just gonna have to beat more allegations because a lot of people are gonna watch this episode and say, "See, Rudy don't even care about his first wife. He just immediately invited her like that." When I'm telling you, this was such an arduous decision for Rudy, talking to analyze all this stuff, and then the fact that she had to use, oh well, Roxy's 2 months pregnant, and the 2 months is significant. So for the first time, I was like really ashamed. I was
Okay.
like really ashamed in the studio because I understand it was tough, but this is your main project. Ask the freaking companies for another episode or whatever you need to get this done right, because I think this is really going to harm Roxy's character. This is going to harm Rudy's character, and this is going to really prop up Elenaliz's character when it should be the other way around, because they did a lot of things right, like showing Roxy's like really how heartbroken she was, Rudy's agonizing decision, Elenalize being the one person. They did so many things right, but when the foundation's really bad,
Mm-hmm.
what can you do?
Yeah.
What can you do?
Um, it's interesting that you mentioned the one show showing the different outcomes if the protagonist had selected a different woman.
Mhm.
They went that same route with quintessential quintuplets, and I really enjoyed that they did that. But in the
One other
same,
one where my choice for the winner was wrong.
bro, me and you both. I was just getting ready to say that. I was like, but that's one of
Who's
them.
your
One.
person? Who's your
Oh,
person?
mine was I can't think of her name right now. The one with the headphones.
Oh, Nino. That was too easy. That was too easy.
No,
Mine
Nino.
was
Nino was not the headphones.
no, not Nino. Oh my god. Nino's the one with the headbands.
Yeah,
Or the hair. I know who exactly you're talking about. I can't remember her name, but
yeah.
mine
But
was
me,
Ichika, the actress.
oh, that would have been a good one too. That would have been a good,
But she
like the one
fumbles
that
it. She fumbles it
the one
though.
that
So
actually won was
yeah,
like my last pick.
right. But there's so
Like,
many when you go back and read this or and watch the story again. There's so many like hints that she was going to win. Like, remember when he gets sick in the first season?
hmm
Futaro does, and she's the one that's holding on to his ring finger. So they're like little things like that. I know. I was like you. I was so annoyed that like it felt like she came out of nowhere, but we don't need to talk about that right now. We can talk about
yeah,
that in a separate video. But
but
go ahead. Sorry.
going the opposite way, those shows that had sort of a harem situation, but he stuck with one. A show that gets a lot of criticism for the, I guess the way a character is animated. Ari Fuerte.
Mm,
Ari Fuerte meets her, and she's his woman from day one. The other girls try to get in, and he's like, "You can fuck off. Like, I want nothing to do with you. This is my lady." And
well,
so, kudos to him for that. But everybody hates on the show because the vampire chick that he's with is animated to look really young,
even though
and so that
she's
bothers
dumb
people.
old, even though she's dumb
Yeah,
old.
yeah, but she's animated to look like teens, and so a lot of people hate on that. And I get it. I wish they had animated her to look like a little older, because that gets to a little
See that
rocky
yeah,
area.
that's one of my biggest problems with
But then you turn
anime.
around and you go to Shield Hero and the Beast Girl. I can't remember her name off the top of my head right now
Raftalia.
either. Raftalia.
Raftalia.
She's actually like 4 years old.
Yes.
So
Just because
like,
she leveled up doesn't mean everything's okay.
yeah, no, exactly. And that's the argument I have with people. I'm like, yo, you're gonna
Me and
hate on
Riddell have
this,
argued
but
about that on plenty of occasions about
bro,
Raftali.
I'm like, y'all are gonna hate on this girl because they drew her to look a little younger, but she's actually like hundreds of years old. You're gonna stand over Raftalia, who's actually like 4. I'm like, nah, no, 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 no. That ain't it. So that and that's where the anime space, can get a little hairy sometimes. But in this specific instance, going back to the show we're supposed to be talking about here, I did not take it negatively towards Roxy at all. As somebody
I
who
thought it
hasn't read
really
the
hurt
source,
her character. I really did,
as
but
as
I
somebody
think
who
I'm.
hasn't read the source material,
Hmm.
um, in that scene when she's in the bedroom, the way I took it was kind of a moment of passion. Like it just sort of happened. I didn't take it as her taking advantage of him or anything like that. Like she just really wanted to comfort him. And then when she like grabbed him and he fell onto the bed, like it just sort of happened. I didn't think of it as anything that she had preordained in her mind or
Mm.
like anything like that. I thought it was just kind of a happenstance of the situation the way it fell. And then later, when they're in the desert and she's apologizing for taking advantage of him, she's crying. Like I get it. Like, and so in that instance, like, as somebody that doesn't know the source material, I don't see it as hurting Roxy's character at all. But what you explained to me, if they had done it differently, it would have elevated her character a lot more. And so I can see from your side of things where the frustration with that would be. Because she just wanted a way to help Rudy. And Elise, say what you want, but her historical endeavors, she gave Roxy the advice that really she's probably the only one that would give her.
No,
At
that's
least,
true.
at least out of that party, at least in that party, if she had gone to Geese or somebody else for advice, she would have gotten different advice. But when you go to Elise, that is going to be the path that she tells you to take. And that being also with the knowledge that Elise is very aware of the place that Rudy was previously when
Hmm.
he had his ED situation.
Well, don't forget, she
She's
traveled with them for years, and then
yeah,
they went to Magic Academy. So she definitely knows.
she's very aware of Rudy when he's in a depressed state and when he's down. She's seen him at his worst.
Hmm.
So, with that being said, I don't knock Elise necessarily for giving that advice and the way everything kind of played out. And the irony of the whole thing being that Rudy's really worshipped Roxy since childhood. Like it's working out in Rudy's favor, whether he understands that in this moment or not, because now the first woman on this new life that he ever loved, he's going to get to be with also. Um, there was a line in the show that stuck out to me when
Mm.
he was talking to Elise at the fire, and he said, "How selfish am I allowed to be?" So he doesn't see it as doing something for Roxy. The way that Elise sees it as like, hey, Roxy's heartbroken. I don't want to see that. You should marry her.
Mhm.
And I'm in this in that sense, the way they played it out, I'm kind of glad they didn't bring the kid up because it makes Elise look more like a caring friend and less like a manipulator. Um, so with that, I like to think that this is another moment in the show where Rudius is showing the growth that he's had over the course of the show.
Mhm.
Because when he was a shut in, if he came into this world and got the chance to have multiple wives, you'd think he'd probably jump at the opportunity. But
Absolutely.
the way that his life has progressed from that time to now, you see that growth where he is so hesitant. Um, because he wants to do right by Sylvie. He wants to be the family man. And that goes back again to that beginning of the show where he was looking back on his past life with his parents and kind of realizing, like, that he wasn't the son he should have been and that sort of thing. Like his growth was really shown, given like a prominent spot in this episode. Um, a lot of this episode was showing Rudius's growth more than the things going on actually like during the time, like the travel and stuff like that. To me, I got more of a sense of Rudy being a better man and the struggles that he's dealing with versus like them traveling or them needing to camp out. Like none of those things stood out to me as much as just
See,
Rudy like
I
being a better
completely
person.
agree. I completely agree. That's why I'm saying you could have taken out that scene where they fight the scorpions
Yeah.
and show a passage of time to really showcase how long. I don't think a lot of anime onlys are going to catch that fact that Rudy was mad skinny in that episode. And even early returns on the episode, anime onlys loved the episode. Light novel readers hated it
Mm-hmm.
because another big thing about this moment in time, Rudy tells Roxy that he's reincarnated. She tells him. He tells her.
Really?
Yes.
That's huge.
Yes. Like I went back and I've watched it twice, and to just kind of not show that is crazy to me. Unless they're gonna do the next episode where he tells them both together, which I wouldn't have a problem with, right? I
Yeah.
wouldn't because um it would work with what the show is doing. But that's such a huge thing, and when Rudy's talking about how selfish is he allowed to be, when he's thinking about his parents, when he's thinking about Sophie, when he's thinking about his kid, when he's thinking about Roxy, like all these things, this is such an arduous moment for him. And when he's like, "Okay, Roxy, it's you. If you're gonna be a part of this, I'm gonna tell you." And Roxy's my favorite, not just because she's legitimately incredibly vital to the story. It's also
Mm-hmm.
because without Roxy, none of this happens. Rudy's
No.
probably dead in some ditch if he stuck to his Shikimori ways after the teleportation incident.
Yeah. I mean, he would have never met Eris because he would have never left his front yard.
Hmm. And even that little scene where, remember, it's directly a direct follow. Remember when Rudy's was standing on the fence and those two kids were playing,
Mm-hmm.
and then they turn around to him with flip phones and try to record him, and then he
Yeah.
sits down and covers his knees. Roxy was watching that whole time, and you see a little bit of that. And Roxy knows who, like, each between the two, Sophie legitimately saved Rudy's life.
Yeah.
We will never discount Sophie's impact to Rudy, right? She was there. That moment of truth when Rudy wakes up and sees that Sophie's gone and all that's left is,
A little
the
blood
aftermath.
spot.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Sophie comes back with like food and said, "Hey, oh, I had to go run away." That moment is so huge that people don't understand,
Yeah.
right? Because and then now Roxy is not just his master, it's his savior. It's the person that he can rely on in ways that he just can't rely on Sophie, right? Roxy's older.
Yeah.
She's gonna live long, like these
I mean,
things
he
that.
still calls her master, and
Mhm.
you would have to be dumb to think that she's anywhere near the power that Rudy is. But he still calls her master, and that
It's the
comes from that.
respect.
Like the
It's the
he
respect.
understands the position that she has in his upbringing and just his life. Like phenomenal. You're frozen, brother. If you're still here, I don't know if he's still here. So while we're waiting for the technical stuff to get figured out here, another really beautiful part of this episode. If you have watched it, you'll understand this. Whenever uh, I can't think of the maid's name, but she's taking care of Zenith. Um, and oh, you're back.
There
Cool.
we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. I was just while we were working through the technical difficulties, I was saying one of the beautiful scenes that I appreciated in the show also was when they were taking care of Zenith, and Rudy tries to help, and she's like, "No," and not in a way that's like hateful towards Rudy. She's like,
Mhm.
"This is my job. I'm gonna do it." You like she understands he's missing a hand, like he's skinny, like you can see his cheekbones and stuff, and she's like, "No, like you need to like take care of other things." And one of those probably being eating a sandwich. Like he went through all that trouble working out while he was at the Magic Academy, getting all buff. And then you see him with his shirt off. My man's a twig now. And it is sad. And he's going to go home and things are not going to go well. And it's something I wanted to ask you about next
Mm.
week's, the last episode of the season. We have still not seen Eris. but she's in the trailer for the season.
I'm worried that they're gonna give her a little throwaway scene, and that's gonna piss me off.
Yeah,
Give.
like
I'd rather
I,
you
I would
just go ahead.
I,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I wouldn't be surprised if a flash to her is the last scene of the season.
See, I don't like that.
Oh, I don't
With
either. I'm just
with
saying I
with
could see
what's
it.
going to happen in the next episode, in my opinion, Eris has no time unless they're going to give her that little spot before the opening. Which, by the way, I don't even think next season should have an opening. You
No, go
got
back to what
things
they did in the beginning.
you got things to take care of in the next episode. You got Rudy's coming back. The family learns about Paul's fate. The family deals with Zenith's fate. The family deals with, hey, I love Roxy. I want her to be my second wife.
Hmm.
That
And you
low key is a
and the
whole episode in itself.
his sisters are not well. Okay, let me take that back. Norn is not going to take well to that. I don't think.
See, remember, she's a follower of Millis.
Oh, I didn't remember that. She
Mhm.
really not going to take well to this. um, I don't think Cliff's. So even his friends group, Cliff's not going to take well to that.
I think
Um,
I think Cliff won't care because he understands that Rudius wouldn't do this without a good reason. Now, if they didn't have the time that they spent together, then I would absolutely be in your camp.
my only thought process with that is he's a devout believer, and
Hmm.
when you're talking about that level of devotion, there's going to be, even when you know somebody well, some trepidation when it comes to a situation like that where something goes directly against the teachings that you hold so firmly. Not like something that's on the line or whatever. The religion says specifically one wife,
Hmm.
and so that's why I'm saying there could be an issue there.
My only thing I'll sit there and throw back in like at your argument is Elena Lies. He wouldn't be with Elena Lies if he cared that much, because I understand Elena Lies wasn't married, but Elena Lies, remember, Millis is basically Mushoku Tensei's version of Christianity.
Christianity, yeah,
So that's like, and I'm just using, that's like if a porn star got with the Pope's son, because that's basically what happened. I'm telling you right now, if that happened in real life, the Vatican would be on fire.
yeah.
So I think because of no, let's keep it a stack. I'll tell you this right now: Cliff is never gonna love another girl. Let's keep that an absolute stack. He's
And
never gonna love another girl,
I would never
right?
think that he would.
Hmm. But the fact that he was able to see, and it's not like Ellen Lies wasn't truthful with him. He knows everything. Why
Mm.
the hell? Why don't you think he's working on fixing her curse? And even then, Cliff knew that his harness was not going to be enough. So still, if you're going by the letter of the law, we saw Elena Lies cheat on Cliff. We saw it, right? And obviously, it's not traditional cheating because if she doesn't do it, she will die. But that happened. I think Cliff, because of his relationship with Elena Lies, has broadened his boundaries. I think he's going to take Rudy's second wife situation a lot better than you think.
Okay. And then something I'm interested to see if they ever bring up, or
Mhm.
if they just choose to leave it out, is in one of the previous episodes, Roxy was talking about how she had gotten in a fight with her master at the Renoa Magic Academy.
Mm.
Will that ever come back up so that we find out who this master was, and if they have any sort of relationship to where, they're still in the school and Rudy is a student?
To the best of my knowledge, Roxy learned her magic from an adventurer. So it wasn't, she went to Reno Magic Academy because the adventurer recommended her to go there, and she was clearly an advanced student. But Roxy, you meet the adventurer in her backstory manga that she gets. I don't think you
Mhm.
meet that. You don't think you meet that person in the story proper.
Well, that's confusing because the way it came across to me when she was talking about that is the fight with her master is why she left Renoa.
I probably have to do some more research, but even then, like if you add Rudy's actual human age to his isekai age, they're both around the same age. Like
Hmm.
they're in their late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah.
So I guess, but I'll have to do some research and maybe we'll come back next week. And then after that, we got to do a big season 2 review. And I'd like
Yep.
to do that one live with Santo and Lonnie. But um even if they do try to broach that situation that you mentioned, that's a season 3 on OVA kind of question. It's not going
Okay.
to be done this season. They just don't have enough time to do it.
Yeah. Speaking of into seasons, are you going to do an into spring show? Because I'm
I
going to
want
have a
to.
lot. I'm going to
If
have a lot
anything,
to talk about.
I was just gonna pull up to your show and we do it.
Oh, I'm down with that because I have a lot I want to talk about.
Mhm.
Because we're done with five. Well, we're done with probably 7 or 8 of the shows that I'm watching currently,
Mhm.
and I have some strong feelings about some of them.
This has been a very good season. But
It
real
has
quick
been an
before we
incredible
talk about
season.
that, yeah, before we dive into the season itself, who was your MVP for the episode, if there is one? And any last thoughts before we dive into spring season proper, and then we can wrap it up.
Um, so my MVP of the episode, just because of the way, taking out all the things that you've said about the
Mhm.
source material and stuff like that, strictly off of the episode. Um, is her name Lilia?
Lilia,
The
yeah,
second
the
Lilia, the
maid, yeah.
second wife. That's my
She's also technically a advanced sword user. The problem is
oh
it sounds dumb. She had a knee injury and she can't really fight anymore. But I still think in a pinch she can grab a sword and do something.
yeah, but she's my MVP of the episode. Nobody else really did anything that I would consider like MVP worthy,
Mm.
um, except for her. And hers was a small thing, but again, taking into consideration only what was in the show and nothing outside of that, she would be my MVP of the episode.
So my MVP, ironically, if I'm going by the show, is Illinois. She's the one that she's the one that convinces Rudy to marry Roxy. She's the one that handles the situation. She's basically the pseudo leader of the party after
Mhm.
Paul as they come back, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm only saying that if I'm going by my actual MVP, it's Roxy. She saved Rudy from being his worst self again, right?
Hmm.
She was able to care for him, and the way that despite her really bad act at the start, which is not her fault, it's not
Yeah.
Roxy's fault, it's the studio's fault for how they depicted this situation. Roxy is so vital, rescuing Rudy from himself, being able to be like, look, I love you, like the purest sense of the word. Like we saw her in episode 2 say, this is my dream scenario to meet a man. I'm stuck in some dungeon and this young vibrant man rescues me and we live together forever. It literally happened. Her perfect scenario literally happened, and she was still willing to be like, I'm okay with fading into the background. Am I going to be sad? Absolutely, but I'm perfectly okay with backing out. And maybe I'll just write Rudy letters, or maybe I'll just see him a random day, but perfectly be okay being an adventurer. The fact that she was able to do that in a way that most harem anime can't do it, where the girl is willing to back up despite her feelings, right? And
Hmm.
most of them they're fighting till the bitter end. And this episode really hurt and helped Roxy's character. The problem is the legacy fans of Mushoku Tensei are really not going to like this because we understand the backstory behind this entire episode and how
Hmm.
vital she was. Roxy's still very naive, right? She meets Rudy, her at least her view of magic changes because she becomes stronger. Now, is she like is she planetary? No, but she's
No.
clearly a problem,
Yeah.
right? But to see her like, this is my dream man, and I'm like, but he's with someone, and I'm okay. I'm gonna be sad, but I'm okay with giving that up, was really big. I thought they really captured that very well. That moment when Rudy basically puts her hand on his hand, or puts his hand on her hand to be like, look, for the rest of the trip, I'll be your man. and she's like, she pushes his hand away, and she's like, I don't need that. That was so powerful. That was so powerful, despite the fact you could see it on her face. You saw it afterwards that she wanted to just put her hand on his hand and commit and just leave this dream life of hers, but she
Hmm.
just couldn't. Roxy, no, fuck it. Roxy's my MVP.
Roxy's my MVP of the series, but
Oh no,
not. But today's episode, I'm going to giving it to Lily.
I'm about to, when we have Turning Point 4 and which is season 3, I'm going to be that episode, Mazer. I'm going to be dropping a lot of lore that day about Roxy, about the future, about the past, about Orsted, about Rudy, about the shit that he's going to try to do in that fucking episode, the predicaments, the situations, the literal worldwide consequences of Turning Point 4. We're gonna that one might go 3 hours with all the stuff I have to tell you. But as of right now, Roxy's my MVP of this episode. But we'll let's just go ahead and talk about the spring season. One of the best spring seasons we've had in a long time. By the way, Oblivion Battery. Santo was right, Mazer. Go watch Oblivion Battery. It's
I
fantastic.
did the first episode.
It's
I
good.
don't think it's bad, but I think it might have got overhyped for me because I was a little underwhelmed.
Go keep watching. It's
Okay,
good. It's
I'll keep
good.
watching. I did the first episode after, like, right after I got off with you guys last week,
Mhm.
and it was good. But I think it just got like in my head the way it was getting like the way my brain was taking it in. I overhyped it, and then when I thought, I was like, eh.
To be fair, Santo is legitimately saying it's the greatest comedy he's ever seen, better than Konosuba. So I don't
Mm.
know if I agree with
And I
Santo,
and
but I
I
think
got
it's
Konosuba
noteworthy.
coming up here. I might do that this week.
Mm.
Because Konosuba and Irregular Magic High School, I was waiting for the shows to end, and I'm gonna binge them.
So I've been watching Irregular Magic High School every week. If I'm being 100% honest, I'm like a little underwhelmed.
Okay.
Like 55-45. Underwhelmed to like maybe because I this is one I don't read the source. There's so much stuff to read, Mazer, before we even get to the end of season 1 that I'm like, I'm good. I'm just okay. But I like the introduction of a couple new characters. I like the introduction or the evolution of some characters like Mikihiko. I
Hmm.
think he gets a really good spotlight in this season in terms
Okay.
of what he can do. Obviously, Tatsuya is just goaded, right? He's just absolutely goaded. Miyuki, eh, right? I mean, you're still in love with your brother. I mean, that's
Not
weird, but
even his brother though, or not even her brother though.
I understand, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's
I
a
know what you
cop
mean.
out. That's such a fucking cop out. That's his brother. That's her brother.
They're not actually related.
They're
He's her
not actually
bodyguard.
related, but they're related. Like that's some bullshit.
I agree. I
Commit.
agree.
Author, fucking commit to the incest bit if you're gonna fucking do it. Because Saigusa's better than Miyuki. She is.
Yeah.
She is. Low key, I might take a couple other people before Miyuki, but we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah.
But Bartender, I'm so excited to
Bro.
binge. But I need
Bartender.
the minute it's done, I'm binging the
It is
fuck
done.
out of it.
It is done.
It is done.
Yeah.
Well, y'all
This
know what
last
I'm about to do on my Sunday.
this last week, Wednesday was the final episode, and I'm gonna
Ooh.
say this, knowing that not everybody's going to agree with me. The best 12 episode one and done anime, period.
Really?
Phenomenal.
Mm.
The last
Now,
two the last two episodes,
mhm.
I had that gangster tear, bro. Like, absolutely incredible. And the way that it ended, you don't have any desire for a season two. It's
Mm.
perfect. It's
See, I thought it
perfect.
was always going to be a one-off kind of season, but I like anime that just kind of do that, where they just kind of show you something. Like I can't remember the name of the anime, but they made an anime during the pandemic to help people exercise.
I know the one you're talking about. I don't remember
And
what it's
it's
called. I know
great.
the one you're talking about.
It's great. Every now and then, anime just makes this one thing where it's like dumb, like Dagon Dagashi, which is about a successor to a candy shop who wants to become a mangaka.
Hmm.
But throughout the show. You learn about the different kinds of candy that the Japanese kids eat, and I'm
Yep.
like, yo, what the fuck? There's this one thing that's legitimately like it looks like it's 5 feet of like this hardened cotton candy thing that they eat. It makes no sense that you let kids eat this. But
Yep.
then when you look at its contents, it's mad healthy. And I'm like, I love when anime does stuff like that, when they just highlight whether it's a part of society. Police in the Pod, which just talks about the life of a traffic cop.
Hmm.
Odd Taxi, which basically don't look at them as their animals. Just think about a guy in his 40s who's been driving a taxi his whole life and he doesn't
Yeah.
know what to do. It's great. Anime does this all the time.
Yeah.
And Bartender, because I saw the first episode, and I said no, I'm gonna fucking catch. I'm gonna be pissed. I don't want to watch this every week. But
No, it's
now that it's done, I'm gonna binge that. Next week the Blue Lock Nagi movie, which might
hmm
be the best anime movie of the year.
Yep.
Even though Spy Family, in my opinion, is pretty tough to beat.
Yeah.
Spy Family was good. The
I'm
only
waiting
thing that
for Overlord.
Overlord, I'm cute.
Ooh.
It's rated R, so it's gonna hurt it.
No. No, it won't.
We'll
Because
see.
that means they're not going to hold anything back, and that gives it punch. Newgate, I'm liking a lot better than I thought I was going to.
Mhm.
This last episode was good. Um, Seventh Prince,
I watched the first
phenomenal
episode of
ending.
that. I watched the first episode of that, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
my
ooh, I
man's
see
a
what you guys are
problem.
talking about. Mhm.
Uh, so the guys over at the Mike Check Waifu podcast, I had a conversation with them about it. I am perfectly okay if this is a one and done, but the source material goes far beyond season one. They probably have enough source material right now for 3 seasons.
Mhm.
Um, the way it ended, I am okay if they don't go forward. It ended in a place, and the way that they ended it, I'm good with. Um, that being said, they didn't agree with me
Mm.
because there's three other siblings, because he's the seventh prince. There's three other siblings that you do not meet in the first season. Um, and
Mhm.
apparently, that's something that if you've read the source material, they're very excited to see animated. But because I don't have that
Mhm.
knowledge, just as an anime only on that, I'm perfectly okay with how it ended. Um,
Mhm.
the level 2 cheat skill, I enjoyed that. The
I
aristocrat,
read the manga for that, so I think that's very well done. A little cheesy, but
yeah. Oh,
there's nothing
it's
wrong with a little
cheesy for
cheese.
sure.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with some cheese in anime. That's
Yeah,
perfectly fine.
it's definitely a little cheesy, but I like it. Um,
Mhm.
the Reborn as an Aristocrat has been really good.
We
I,
talked about it last week, Baser. Oh, we
yep.
talked about it after the pod. I
Yeah.
really like that manga. I read the mess out of it. I think it's interesting that the isekai protagonist is not overpowered. It's
Hmm.
it's basically like any freaking real-time strategy game or hero summoner or whatever that you've ever played. And my only problem is how long can you keep the MC so underpowered? At some point, he's gonna have to get in real danger. Now, in the manga, has he been in danger, Mazer? Absolutely. You're fighting a
Yeah.
war, you're gonna be in danger. But for instance, I'm a realist hero who rebuilt the kingdom.
Yep.
At some point, he had to be on the battlefield against the enemy king. Now, did he fight? No, 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 no. He had people to do that for him, but he was in genuine danger to the
Yeah.
point where it legitimately changed his relationship status with his love interest,
Hmm.
right? At some point, you're gonna have to do that with him and actually make work. The problem is he's so young, so
I
there
think,
has to be a time skip at some point
and I
in
think
the
there will
story.
be. And with their introduction recently of Melina and
Mhm.
how her personality is,
The
um,
eccentric master strategist.
yes. Um, that will be very interesting to see how that character just individually impacts the story moving forward, because
Mhm.
she's not very reliable up to this point. Um, she's incredible at what she does, but she's also an alcoholic that can't wake up on time, doesn't take any of her jobs seriously.
She's so
Like
talented, man. Her potential's off
she's
the
so
charts.
talented. I get it. It'll be interesting. Um, Demon Slayer's episode this week.
It's the last one, right?
No, this is
The-
episode 7. So
I
next
thought.
week.
Oh, so next week's the last
Next week
one.
will be the last week.
Oh, Gilmay's getting his time to shine then.
Yes, yes, he does. They've started the road for Zenitsu that I'm waiting for, and I had goosebumps. And if you haven't seen the episode this week, watch it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Zenitsu's entire demeanor is different. The spazzy comedic relief Zenitsu for the rest of the story is gone. That part of Zenitsu we're not going to see again for the remainder of Demon Slayer, and it was heavy. The way that they animated it, they did a phenomenal job. I was curious about how it was going to be, and they did an exceptional job. I'm very excited for it. The end of the episode, I was upset, but they did it on purpose because next week, it's gonna have to be like another like hour episode. There's no way. If they give us 20-minute episode next week, like the fans are gonna riot.
I legitimately think they're planning for these movies to be the greatest thing in anime history. These might be the most anticipated. No, let's keep it a stack. These are the most anticipated movies outside of
Yeah.
Studio Ghibli movies that we will ever see. They're going to make
Now,
millions of dollars, possibly billions of dollars.
yeah.
And you saw Ufotable, which by the way, maybe the best animation studio out there. If you're looking at obviously they don't go for quantity, but
Yeah.
Fate is animated fantastically. Demon Slayer's animated fantastically, and they just got the rights to Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, one of the biggest manhwa out there, which at the time I thought it was weird, but now it makes perfect sense. Ufotable, it may be the best studio to have that property. It's going to be a lot of, like, for instance, The Legend of Northern Blade, I hope Ufotable gets it, right? In terms of, because they know really how to really animate their fight scenes now. I'm curious to see how long it's going to take them to kind of match that style, that aesthetic. There's a lot going on in Omniscient Viewers Reader. Like one of the few manhwa that I put above Solo Leveling, in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Because as much as we love Solo Leveling, there's a lot of problems with it in terms of how it throws away its side characters. The thing about, let me give you an example, right? The healer that's with the MC at the beginning of the movie,
Yeah.
they just throw her away. What about the dad? He breaks. If you've read the story, by the way, Mazer, just go somewhere and read it. It's great.
Yeah.
But they waste his dad, right? They waste a few other things. Like the sister doesn't really matter. The main romance of the story is kind of forced. Well, this is where sometimes I'm like, when it comes to these shonen type stories, sometimes it's okay if the main character doesn't get with someone. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay.
Have a Gocho Satoru, have a Kakashi. Like,
That's
you
fine.
don't got to have a romance.
You don't need it, but it feels like sometimes shonens in particular just try to force it. Like, for instance, the Deku Ochako pairing, when they get together at the end of the story,
Yeah.
it's not going to be as good as it probably could have been because the author clearly placed some emphasis on it, but didn't commit, right?
Yeah.
The Fire Force one between right now with Shinra and that maid that they have,
Yeah.
the healer, they've done, I think, sort of a good job, but he spent more time with the girl who can't keep her goddamn clothes on, that's the cat, than he spent with the priestess, right?
Yep.
By the way, you should be talking to Maki, but that's just me, man. Let me chill. Baki and
Yeah.
Princess Hibana. Look, I have a look. If Princess Hibana was a real human person, I don't think you would ever hear from me again. But that's just
Bro, Windbreaker season's over,
Windbreaker.
and it
Viral hit.
I
Have you
didn't
been
start Viral
watching?
Hit yet.
Oh,
No.
the concept, Mazer. The concept's so good. The main character's bullied, right? And then
Yep.
he finally decides to stand up to his bullies. But the fight was so bad, it went viral on YouTube. So now the main character levels up and then he goes around Korea fighting bullies and streaming it on YouTube. It's great. It's
I
so
need to do
good.
viral hit, but I also
It's
need
so
to
good.
do Yatagarasu, which is supposed to be
Mm,
incredible,
mhm,
and I haven't started that yet either.
mhm.
Um, Kaiju number 8.
Kaiju number 8,
Bruh.
I mainly blame my trepidation with Kaiju number 8 on how the manga is done,
Mhm.
right? I think the ma I think whenever I read Kaiju number 8, I have to go back and read, like, the last 2 chapters to understand what's happening here because of the infrequent release schedule that it has. But I anticipate Kaiju number 8, the anime being great. The first part of the story is fantastic. It
Yeah.
really is.
Next week will be the last episode.
Mhm,
This week's episode went hard, and I didn't see the end coming, which was
mm,
nice.
mhm.
Um, it's going. I mean, I can if it goes the route of being predictable, I know how it's going to end up working out. But that being said, I'm leaving a little optimism out there that they might do something a little different. Um, whether or not it's going to be like a Naruto and Kurama situation or like whatever the case is, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in this next episode because it's going to lay the groundwork for how the rest of the show is going to go.
Now, the summer slate is kind of weak when you kinda look at it,
Yeah, it's a little
but
it's
I
a
think
little
there's
like
some
B
mhm,
cast.
but I think there are a few good gems in there, like, for instance, Isekai Shokaku, basically no longer allowed in another world, which
Hmm.
basically follows a author in the 1940s, Japanese author 1940s. He commits suicide with his love, and he gets isekai to a new, place. The only thing he wants to do all the time is die, but because of I think the manga is fantastic. His I still don't really have a grasp on his powers, but due to his powers as a writer and the companions he gathers, he goes around fixing rights and wrongs. I think I'm not going to say it's ever going to be the best at isekai that you're ever going to see, but I think it's very good.
Okay,
So that's one. Let's see.
I'm looking forward to How to Become Normal.
Ooh, I'm pretty interested in that one as
Yep,
well.
looks like it's going to be a slice of life.
Hmm.
I'm interested in that. Um, if you haven't looked ahead to winter, winter's
Oh,
got
no. Winter, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. Let's stay
winter's
to
got some
summer.
gems already in slot ready
Winter's
to go.
unfair though. They get ReZero. That automatically makes that winter slate better than summer.
Yeah, and I mean fall looks good too. I don't want to take anything away from
That's
fall.
true. That's true. Fall
Fall
does look good.
fall looks good. But summer's just kind of flat. Which in some ways for me is a good thing because there's not going to be as many animes that I'm watching. I still
Mm,
got to finish 8-6. I still got to finish Code Geass. There's several shows that I started that have just kind of taken a back seat because I've been keeping up with what's new. That
mm.
now I'm going to have time to finish.
Whoa. Okay, hold on. My bad, Summer. I wasn't familiar with your game. Kengan Ashura Part 2 of Season 2 drops in
Hmm.
August. Um, Kimi no Todoke, the 3rd season of that drops in August.
Is that the
Um,
Cafe Terrace?
no, that's the one where the girl looks kind of scary and then the popular guy ends up liking her.
Oh, yep. Okay.
So there's that one. There's a My Hero movie.
Yep.
But let me go back. There's a few in here that they there's a few in here like uh
Fairy Tale's coming.
Fairy Tales coming,
Oshinoko season two's coming.
Oshinoko season 2. There's one here that Santa really likes, Sengoku Yuko. Yeah, that's getting a second part. Um, One I'm really kind of I just think it's kind of campy. A Journey Through Another World, raising kids while adventuring. That one
Hmm.
is just like one of those. It's like a
Have
guy
you
gets
seen the trailer
isekai.
for it?
Yes, I think it's
Yeah.
very. I think it really matches the aesthetic of the manga. Like they're never truly in danger. They're just kind of
Yeah.
running around
Well,
as you're watching a guy.
those
Those
kids are
kids
going to
are
be a problem.
busted. They're gods. They're gods.
Those
They're
kids are going to be a
gods.
problem.
Yeah, and they have like the perfect guy to like be their father.
Yeah.
So, um, my wife has no emotion caught my eye. By the
Yep.
way,
Are you familiar with the story of that girl that hides her feelings in Russian?
Yes. Yeah, I've read a synopsis of it. I'm really excited to watch it. This
Oh,
is
so you
one
don't know the story of
I
it.
don't know the story. I don't know the story. I've read the synopsis.
Oh, that is going to be I think that's gonna be the number one romance of the summer.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not gonna spoil it for you. I'm not gonna spoil it.
Please don't, because this
There's
is one of those
there
where I purposely
there's
stay
an
away from.
important thing that the synopsis doesn't say
Hmm.
that makes the show all the more enjoyable.
Mm.
And I'm very excited to see it animated.
Wonder what they're gonna do when she starts speaking in Russian, though. Are they gonna have the Japanese actress say that in Russian, or are they gonna call some guy to do it?
I mean, nowadays with AI, they might just have an AI bot take the voice and translate it
Ah.
over. But
I really like her design though in the show. I really
when
like
the
her
show
design.
starts, I'm excited. Well, it might not be until episode maybe like 2 or 3, but we're gonna have to talk about it because when
Mm.
they reveal the point that I'm thinking of, that's going to I think that you're gonna be very excited about the show, but in an entirely different way than you're thinking about it right now. Because it literally changes. It's going to be different than every anime romance you've seen so far.
That's a big thing
Yep.
because you know the type of romances I put in my upper echelon, Toradora,
Hmm.
my bunny girl senpai, uh Kaguya-sama, Your Lie
Yep.
in April. Those are heavy hitters,
Now, I'm
Mazer.
not saying this is going to be better. I'm saying that they're attacking the romance
Hmm.
differently than all of those shows did.
Okay. The last one, I guess there's obviously you said Fairy Tale. Tower of God is
Yep.
what sells the season, in my opinion. No, no, that in the Suicide Squad Isekai as well for the West.
We'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
I'm I'm
I,
I'm
I, I'm I'm
I'm
leaving.
cautious, right?
I'm leaving. So I'm not uninterested and I'm not interested. I'm kind of middle of the road.
Hmm.
So I'm going into it literally like on a flat slate. Like you can go up, you can go down. Like I don't really have any expectations for it one way or the other. So it'll be
See,
interesting to see what they do.
see, I I watched Batman Ninja with some expectations, and
They're
I was
doing a two.
I don't think they should.
They're going to Batman Ninja Two's
I don't think
already
they should.
it's already been announced.
You're no, you're right. I saw the announcement about it. I don't think they should. I think Batman is highly overrated as a superhero, but we don't need to talk about that.
I mean, Batman is a ninja. So like if you're gonna put somebody in like an anime-esque like
Then how do
situation,
you
like
fumble Batman Ninja? You had the Joker, you had the rest of the Bat family, and you still fumbled it.
I agree. I'm saying though, like Batman as a character, like with the League of Shadows and stuff, like does he dress like a ninja?
No,
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 but
he
but for all
absolutely moves
intents and
like a
purposes,
ninja, but
he's a
like
ninja.
Tengen is better than him.
Yeah.
Tengen's absolutely better than him. So
I,
look,
I want
I
to talk to
might
you when you watch this week's episode because
I
you
will.
said you haven't read the manga, right? For Demon
Mm-mm,
Slayer.
mm-mm. No,
Yeah,
no,
I
I
want to.
have, I have, I have, I have, I
Oh,
have.
you have.
But
Okay.
they've been adding. They made 2 episodes out of a. They made 2 episodes out of a chapter. So at this point, Ufotable can. I'll trust them with a paper bag and like a halfly drawn Saitama sketch, and they'll make something great out of it. So
Yeah, you Ufotable with Studio Mappa, like there's some really good, like we're living in a golden age for anime. There's a lot of good studios that are putting out solid products.
mhm. The last one I wanted to. Well, there's 2 more. Obviously, we know there's last one I wanted to highlight was Near Automata
Yep.
getting its second core in the summer. Now they changed a big thing about the story depending on who survived. Obviously, you can get that outcome in the games, but I think most people don't get this outcome in the games. Basically, like the healer of the squad in the final
Hmm.
battle, she lives. She never. Most of the time, that's not the route people go down to get the healer. So I'm very curious to see how they handle the second core. I think Near Automata, the anime, was heavily slept on.
Hmm.
Besides the fact that excuse me, it's a cult classic game because I don't see a lot of people talking about it. I think it's very well animated. I think the fights are great. I'm very excited to see how they handle the story because this is one of those where I beat Nier Automata twice. They're like
Okay.
16 endings. I'm sorry. I'm not playing to get all 16 endings, right? I'm not doing that. But if this anime can serve as a definitive ending for the show, I'm not mad at it because I've never gotten the one where the medic lives in that final battle. I never gotten that one. So this is already all new to me. I'm pretty excited about it. Tower of God will carry in terms of namesake. I think it should. And not Trent, Riddell swears by it. But I think what could be the best anime of the season could be Near Automata.
Yeah. Now,
Could be
with
the
Nier
best one.
Automata being slept on, I have a question for you. Which one
Mm,
of these two shows was slept on more? Nier
mm.
Automata, Case Study of Vanitas.
Case study of Vanitas. Near Automata had the video game backing to propel it to be at least early a great anime. The case study of Vanitas is something that even I haven't finished, but Riddell really likes it. I've never really been big into vampires in anime,
That's fair.
but from what I've seen of the case study of Vanitas, it's pretty good. It's just one of those where I never finished, but I need to go back and finish because from everything I've heard about the series, it deserves that. It
Yeah.
deserves that respect to at least finish the first season, and we'll see what happens from there. But we're over an hour. Mazer, any last thing you want to say about the Mushoku Tensei episode or the spring anime or the summer anime lineup that we've talked about?
No. With Mushoku Tensei, next week being the last episode of the season,
Mm,
um, I'm super excited for it. My big thing is, are they going to show Eris at all? And if so, how are they going to do it
mm,
so that it gives something to the viewers, but at the same time does not detract from the story that is currently underway with Rudy, with his mom, going back home, Sylphie, another wedding, perhaps, all this other stuff. How are you going to just slide that in and have it be effective, but not take away from the other stuff? So that's what I would say what I'm the most excited for. That and then Kaiju number 8 and Demon Slayer next week too. So those are the three that next week, like, I have my eyes set on heavy.
See, my thing is, I'm looking at. I forgot. I just saw another one that I'm kind of excited about. The strongest magician in the Demon Lord's army was a human, which is a manga that I really enjoy, except for the fact that it comes out in parts. So you get the three. So you get part one of chapter three. Like, let's just say I'm just using random numbers. Chapter 366, part two of chapter three, then part three. So you don't get the whole story in one thing. But I've enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I look, it's very battle heavy, so I think like somebody like J Rob or Lonnie or even Miles could enjoy it. But the fact that the best strategist in the Demon Lord army
Actually, a human.
is actually human, and he has to hide his credentials. The only person who truly knows who he is the Demon Lord, and there's a secret behind the Demon Lord that I think if you're a lover of history, you'll really love.
Okay.
That's the best way to say. If you're a lover of history, you'll really love. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's one of those where like, oh, there's a new part out, I run to read it immediately. And I think where especially right now where it's at in the story, there's starting to be a very interesting arc in terms of what the main character is going to do. So, I think it's pretty good. Mazer, to kind of talk about your Eris point, they either give her the start before the episode opens or she gets her own OVA, and they're going to count that as part of his core two. Because if I'm being absolutely honest, I don't want to see her until she gets her OVA.
Okay.
Because a lot of people are going to have questions, like, for instance, why are we showing Eris? What's she doing? Where's she at? What is this place that she's at? There's going to be so many questions a lot of people are going to ask that if they could do an hour-long special, because I don't think her story where she's at right now is important enough to give her a movie, even though it got her own spin-off manga. If you give
Mm-hmm.
her like an hour-long episode, I think that would be great. I really think so because where she's at right now, what she's doing it for, despite the fact that she literally did it in one of the worst ways possible, I think it's very noteworthy. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
I I
I think she's
still
getting
have a
OVA.
I still have a gut feeling they're
Mm.
gonna show a flash of her at the very end of the episode and then end it. I hope they don't.
Then what's the point of doing that?
I
What's the point
genuinely
of doing that?
to make anticipation for next season.
That's dumb. That's
I
dumb.
agree. I agree, but this is just a gut check. I don't know they're gonna do this. That's just I have a feeling.
Mhm.
But you need to make yourself a mixed drink and watch Bartender Brother.
I'm going to. I'm going to. And I didn't know. I didn't realize Bartender was done. So I'm about to
Yep,
watch the
it's so
f out
good.
of it.
It's so
But
good.
Bartender was my sneaky pick of the season
Mine as
because I
well,
can't
and it
count
lived up to it.
Slime. I can't count Slime because Slime's running to the end of the year. And also Slime gave us 4 straight episodes of meetings.
Yep.
As
But
much as I love Slime, I'm not letting that slide.
they've come back since then though.
They have been.
This
Now
week was
they're
a great episode even without any action.
by the way, you like the new opener that they dropped for Slime because the
Not as
story
much
is
as
remarkably changing.
not as much as I liked the opening for part 1.
Mhm.
I like the opening for part 1 more. I don't dislike the opening for this one. But you can tell that there's a change
Mhm.
as far as that
It's
goes.
becoming more slice of life. We've seen a lot of new characters. If you paid
Yep.
attention to the opening, a lot of new characters. Whoever that
Mhm.
elf girl is, that's starting with the other elf girl's dad.
Yep.
There's the girl that's hugging Ben and Maru that we gotta have questions for. I mean, I know who she is, but you don't know. There's a lot of things going on right now
Yeah.
that
And I
really have
feel
to be
like they
handled.
didn't bring up the elf slaves for nothing. I feel like
Mhm.
that's going to uh, be something that gets addressed. Now, will it get addressed next episode? I don't know because we're getting ready to have the big festival.
Mhm.
Um, and
That festival is gonna run probably for 3, 4 episodes, by the
I'm
way.
so excited for that. My
There's
man's
so
open.
much that happens, both
They're opening a
politically,
coliseum.
socially.
Like,
There's so much that's going to happen that by the end of part 2, because I think they're gonna do 3 parts, Mazer,
mhm.
that by the end of part 2, you're gonna be like, "Ooh, okay, now it finally makes sense why people are moving the way they were moving." Because what happens right after the festival is hugely important in terms of conflict and lines being drawn, things like that. There's a lot that's gonna happen.
I'm
So I
looking
mean, we
forward to
got
it.
Slime to the end of the year, maybe a little bit longer. So we're gonna see Slime a lot.
Hey, I'm a slime stan. All right, I say
Absolutely,
it
I'm a Slime stan as well.
with some bass in my chest. Okay, I don't care. It's
Mhm.
my as things stand right now. It's my favorite anime. That being said,
Really,
that's always subject to change. But
really,
dude, I've watched Slime probably like 5 times. Um,
wow.
I'm rewatching Overlord right now to get ready for the movie.
Mhm,
Um, and I love Overlord too. Don't get me wrong. It used to be Full Metal Alchemist. That was my favorite show.
mhm.
And it's still up there. But just kind of like with my personality, the way that it is, and everything, Slime is my number one.
That's amazing. Now, obviously, in terms of isekai, I'm very partial to Mushoku Tensei, but Slime is right up there, right? I
Hmm.
told you my starting 5 of isekai is Konosuba,
Yep.
ReZero, Mushoku Tensei, Overlord, and the time I was reincarnated as slime. That may be one of the best 5 that you want to. Isekai's best 5 could stand up to anybody's genre. Can really can, especially as they get more seasons. Now, are they going to be as impactful as if you want to look at the shonen one like Dragon Ball Z? No, 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 no. Even though sort of ironically, one that did make my list, Sword Art Online, they
Hmm.
don't want to like. I don't like it either, but it's one of the most influential anime of all time.
And I say this to everybody whenever Sword Art Online talk comes up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my favorite anime.
Mm-mm.
It's good. It's not my favorite. Alicization and War of the Underworld. Just those 2 pieces are arguably some of the best anime that's come out.
Santo or Mazer, I have a question. Why couldn't those be their own floors in Ironcrad?
They could have. They could have.
That's how great they are. I think they're
But
fantastic.
like with Alice, the way they introduce her and the way Kirito ends up in his like comatose state and everything, like I was a huge fan of
I
Alicization in War of the Underworld.
respected
Um,
I respected the hell out of Sword Art Online that they're willing to put their main character on the shelf for 3/4 of an arc, and you let
mhm.
everybody else try to figure it out. Asuna got a lot of love. Shion got love. I still don't like the fact that Sword Art Online relies on sexual assault all the time as a plot device. I don't
Yeah.
like that. Even Mushoku Tensei doesn't do that. I don't like the fact that you keep using it. Mazer, every single season of the show,
Mhm.
every single season, somebody's about to get raped. No
Yep.
Diddy. And I hate the fact that they do that. I really don't like that. But I think I agree with you. Season 3 and season 4 are amazing. Half of season 1's great, then they ruin it with the
Yep.
Alpine mark. And I'm not a fan of Gun Gale.
Gun Gale, I like more than Alfheim. Alfheim to me was the biggest. Like it's right there with like season 2 of Shield Hero. Like y'all took something great and ruined it.
The idea is so good, Mazer, of Alpine. But then the villain sucks. Asuna's just a damsel in distress the whole season.
Like they could have
Um,
made that a part of Aincrad, and it would have been far better.
it makes Akihiko Kayaba, the main villain of Sword Art Online, look horrible. The fact that when they asked him, "Why did you do this?" He's like, "I don't know."
Yeah.
I was like, "What do you mean you don't know? You didn't think about this like enough as an author?" But we don't need to talk about that.
Now,
Either way,
my
now
top
look,
5 real
that's true.
quick
Oh,
because
go ahead.
mine's a little different than yours. Close. I got
Okay.
Slime in there. I got
Mhm,
Mushoku Tensei in there. I
mhm,
got Konosuba in there.
mhm.
I have Tsukimichi Moonlight Fantasy in there.
Tsukimichi's great. Tsukimichi is great.
This new season has been so good, and my man is in his villain arc right now, and I'm here for it.
I
Like
can't.
I'm right there, like with when Aaron tripped. I was just like, yo, Team Aaron, all the way. Let's stomp people out. That's how I am with him right now. I'm like, hey, I'm down to go to war with everybody. If you are, that's fine.
In
And then
3 years, you're gonna love Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy because of what's coming.
yeah,
So
I got
I
those
love.
four, and then
Go ahead. Sorry.
Spider. So I'm a
Really,
spider. So what? Yeah,
really. So you don't have Overlord in your top 5?
it's
Wow.
they're neck and neck. They're neck and neck. The reason I like Spider as much as I do
Mm,
is they do a lot without saying they're doing it. And to me, to do that and do it well to where it's an enjoyable experience is something that's very difficult to do, but they manage to do it. Like the time jumping back and forth where they don't tell you they're jumping back and forth. I liked that. I like that you get to see the spider in the future. You don't know that that's the spider.
mhm.
Like I love that. If I was gonna switch Overlord out with anything, it would be Tsukimichi. Um, but right now, just because of the way the new season's going, like that's the only reason that Overlord's like at number 6, like knocking on number five's door.
See, if there was one anime I would take out of my top 5 would probably be Konosuba for Tsukimichi. The problem is I don't think Tsukimichi is at that level yet. There's something that it's missing in
Okay.
terms of I think the next season might cement it into being top 5 for me. But even this latest season of Konosuba is fantastic.
See, and I haven't seen the new season of Konosuba. So
Mhm.
once I do that, it'll either cement it there as well, or maybe Konosuba's the one that gets booted out and Overlord jumps in.
See, I just think and also I know the weird symmetry around my top 5 of isekai is like they all came out around the same time. Web novels, light
Hmm.
novels, and obviously once we get to anime, they're all different because let's keep it a stack. Not a lot of people in 2012, 2013, 2014 were willing to animate a story as controversial as Mushoku Tensei. There's a reason why they wait till 2019 to do it.
Hmm.
So, but there's a lot going on. But I'm very excited for Isekai's future because eventually there's going to be a bidding war for who gets Lani's favorite one, the beginning after the end. Because once
Hmm.
that happens, It's going to be a free for all, in my opinion.
Okay.
Absolute free for all.
The
Because
one I'm a little disappointed didn't do better, and maybe it's just because we're only in season 1, is Remonster. I like Remonster.
I like it too.
It
They
it
they
might not
they
it might not even be top 10 though.
but they skimped on the animation. The story of Remonster is not good enough, in my opinion, to carry the show. Is it good? Yeah, but it's like an 81 out of it's like an 81. It's like a lower class B. It's not a B minus, but it's close.
Yeah.
But I think the drops in the animation have been very noteworthy. Like
Mhm.
where the drops in animation have been bad enough that I think it really hurts the anime, because if you go read the manga when you have a chance, Santo, I think the manga is fantastic. The problem is episode 3 of ReZero was like, well, remember that weird time, and like for 4 chapters, the main character was just fucking every human that he could see.
Yeah.
They just did that in one episode, and it was weird, and it was just as weird as it was in the anime. So like, I Remaster could be a lot better, but I'm not surprised with where you rank it.
Yeah,
That's
like, I'm
basically
not
what
even
I'm
sure
saying.
it's in my top 10.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's not in a lot of people's top 10. The top 10 of isekai is tough. It really is.
Yeah,
Like, think
like,
about it. Mushoku
Ari Puerta,
Tensei,
better.
yeah. Mushoku Tensei, Arifueta, Sword Art Online, what do you call it? Overlord, ReZero, Log Horizon, the Saga of Tanya the Evil,
Oh, I forgot about that
Konosuba.
one.
People
Yeah.
always forget about that's Konosuba. Um, I feel like I'm missing a few that are really good. That, but that's just 7 off the top of my head that I believe are or 8 off the top of my head that I believe that are better than um
Remonster.
Remonster off the
I
top of my
would
head.
off the okay, I'll throw in, the Overly Cautious Heroes Overly Cautious. I thought that was better than Remonster.
I think it's not bad. I wish they gave it another season. The fact that they concluded the whole story in a season, I think, was bad, but obviously it just shows they just didn't have enough faith in the source material to do that. I don't think it's that bad, but I think it's better than Remonster. I'll take the Isekai Quartet show where they just have all those random
Oh,
isekais together. I'll take that over Remonster.
I forgot
Um,
Eminence and Shadow.
Eminence and Shadow clears. By the way, I can't wait
Eminence
for
and
that movie.
Shadow's knocking on the top 5 too. That's
As much as J Rob and them don't want to talk about it, Mazer, in a full year, Eminence and Shadow got 2 seasons of an anime and a movie announcement. That doesn't happen if the
no.
people aren't watching the show, no matter how much.
And it's on High Dive.
Yes, it's on high dive. It's
It's
Loki,
getting
other than
all
Don
this, and
Machi,
it's on a like a second level, like, yeah,
other than Don Machi, Mazer,
yeah, which season
Eminence
five's
and
coming.
yeah, Eminence and Shadow is
Yeah,
carrying that platform. So
yeah. No, I was gonna say the Don Machi season 5, they did announce it.
that's right. Weirdly, it's on high dive. That's crazy that Crunchyroll let that happen. Don Machi is a very popular product. Maybe they just weren't willing to match the number that high dive threw out. Um, but there's a few more I feel like I would pick over Remaster. I think I could name if I could like look at some isekais, I would name 20 that are better than Remonster off the top. So it's been a shame, but pretty successful spring season. A
Yep.
few hidden gems up in the upcoming summer season, and then fall we're right back into it. Winter we're doing it again, and then we're gonna keep chugging along. But Mazer, thank you so much for pulling up. This
Thank
has
you for
been
having me.
episode 23 of the Mushoku Tensei podcast of season 2. Episode review, spoiler review. We'll be back next week with the last episode. We're gonna review that, and then probably the week after that, we're going to review the entire season 2 in a whole. There's going to be a why you should watch on Mushoku Tensei season 2. There's going to be that video dropping. Make sure you pull up to the Black Sensei Society. We have King Lion, one of the bigger like independent authors in his space. He has a pretty successful manga that's on Manga Plus. A lot of our captains know him personally, and we're going to be talking about comics versus manga and why comics have lost all footing to manga. Like
Hmm.
Macer, to give you an example, Demon Slayer by itself last year outsold the entire manga or comic book industry by itself.
I believe that.
So we might be reaching a place with American comics that we need to really look at ourselves if you want to make this viable in the future,
Hmm.
because rebooting the series doesn't help. You've written all the stories you can for Peter Parker, and now you're just ruining him, right? When you're trying to
Hmm.
read a Green Lantern comic, the first thing a comic book guy is going to tell you is like, which run do you want to see? So basically, which author do you want to
Yep.
see pen a comic book story? So there's a lot of things going on. I have smoked for Batman because I think he's utterly like useless at his job because he refuses to do the hard steps. It's not even about killing. It's about being efficient and truly honest at your job. And I don't think Batman's about that.
All
Also, the
right.
fact that Batman lets the Joker live every time the Joker does something. Because if I kill, allow open the floodgates. I don't know, Batman. Most of your freaking villains gallery needs to die. But also at the same time, that's what we have Superman for.
Yep.
They gave you prep time so you'd have a chance. Let's keep it a stack. If Superman tomorrow at 9:55 decided to kill you, there's nothing you can do about it, Batman. You're
Hmm.
dead. You're dead. The same way Flash, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, they'd all kill you. But we don't. But Batman is supposedly us, even though he suffers a lot from plot convenience, prep prep time, and a lot of other plot contrivances or bullshit that we just let go. But we'll talk about that on Tuesday.
All right, man. Well, I'm looking forward to next week.
Yeah, make sure, Mace, what are you doing on what are you doing on your show this
Oh,
week?
last week we started the best fight in anime bracket tournament. We only did the first round. We were playing roughly 2 minutes of each fight. That way, if somebody hadn't seen it, they get the gist of kind of what's going on.
Tengear Taro
Um,
should win.
they should.
It's the best fight in anime history. I don't care what nobody says.
Give me just a moment here, and I will tell you who is going to be up in this next round. So this next round is going to be Jinwoo and Igris versus Goku, Frieza, and 17 finishing Jiren. The final fight in season 1 of Daily Life of the Immortal King versus Mizu and the Thousand Claw Army. Tengen and Gyutaro is up against Ringoku and Akaza.
Oh, we winning. We winning, bro.
Yep.
We
Le-
winning.
Leonidas and the Gorgon are up against Madara and the Shinobi Alliance. Kenshin versus Shishio is up
Mm,
against Yoshomaru versus the Fire God.
mm,
Shinra and Sho from season 1 of Fire Force is up against Sukuna and Maharaga. Toji, and I can't remember his name, but he's the fish guy, is up against Karma versus Selg or Sieg. And then the last one, Ichigo versus Ulquiorra is up against All Might fighting the Nomu. So that's the
if
this
if I'm
week's tournament standings.
if I'm being honest, there's only one fight that could beat Tengen Gyutaro on that entire list. I'm not going to say the fight, but there's only one fight that could, in
See,
my humble opinion.
I would agree with you on that, but
I'll,
if my show has taught me anything in the past, it's that leaving it up to the viewers to vote can get you some wild results.
I agree, but a lot of people, which is weirdly, sleep on this fight. I need y'all to understand, and this will be the last thing we say before we get out of here. I need y'all to understand what Tengen and Gyutaro did over the course of 6 episodes. Six. The Demon Slayer had you excited, had you down the dumps, had you giving up, had you sympathizing with the villain, had you cheering for the hero in a way that no other. And when Tanjiro runs away with Nezuko in his box,
Hmm.
away from Gyutaro, you got it. You completely understood, right?
Yeah,
When
deuces.
Tanjiro When Tanjiro pulls his trap card, you were screaming. You were standing up screaming because you thought that was his chance. Then then he fails. Gyutaro almost takes Tanjiro's head. Then Tengen shows up out of nowhere, no arm, poisoned, but he got Gyutaro's game completely figured out. And I thought, and then to seal it off, Mazer, Gyutaro explodes at the end of the episode, and they do it perfectly, where they just show the entertainment district and nothing else. And you're
Yep.
like, at that point I had not read the Demon Slayer manga. So I legitimately was like, how
Oh,
the fuck do they get out of this?
yeah.
I need y'all to understand the magic that Ufotable did with season 2 of Demon Slayer. From start to finish, that shit was gas. And once people started swinging swords and throwing fists, that's one of the best of all time. In my opinion, the best of all time. But I am starting to gather up a list of 5 fights that I think could beat Tengen Gyutaro. But I think Tengen just has a little bit of an edge. And I'll give you one right now, which is Ryder versus Saber in the Heavensfield movies. The Fate and
Okay.
Heavensfield movies. I
I'm not
think
familiar
that
with that. I'll have to look into that.
that was so good that for a second I was like, "Oh my god, this might be on that level." And by the time it was done, it absolutely was.
Okay.
You got to look at the Evansville movies one, man. That that fight, my mouth was wide open the whole fight. It was amazing, amazing, Mazer. But we need to wrap it up. We're going on an hour and a half. Mazer, anything else you want to say?
No, that's it. Wednesday at 7 if y'all want to drop by. 7 Central.
Yeah, pull up 7 Central. Mazer's discussing the best fights in anime history. And if Tengen Gyutaro don't make it to the final, I'm rioting, Mazer. I'm rioting. But it's been an impactful episode of Mushoku Tensei this week. We got a
Mm-hmm.
lot of comments, a lot of discussion in the Mushoku Tensei subreddit. A lot of people hating on Roxy, a lot of people loving on Roxy, a lot of people hate on the adaptation. There's so much going on. We talked a little spring anime, a lot of summer anime. So there's something for everybody, but we will see you guys next week to talk about the final episode of Mushoku Tensei season 2. Hopefully I'll have the whole squad here because there's so much to cover, especially when we do the season 2 recap, because there's so much to cover.
Yeah.
So we will see you guys next week, guys. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Later.